ready to go. All right, I'll call to order the City of Indio closed session. My name is Wayman Furman. I'm the mayor, and I'll be chairing this session. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz,
Present.
Mayor Furman,
Present.
and Councilmember Ramos Amit has an excuse absent, and Councilmember Elaine Holmes is absent.
Okay, the next item is item number 2, public comment. Do we have any public comments for closed session?
None, Mayor.
Okay, number 3, adjourn to closed session. City Attorney?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council will adjourn into closed session for the items listed on the closed session agenda.
All right, thank you. We'll adjourn. Okay. I'll call to order the joint City of Indio and Water Authority meeting. Today's date is Wednesday, April 6, 2022. My name is Wayman Furman. I'm the mayor of the City of Indio, and I will be chairing this meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Holmes.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz.
Present.
And Mayor Furman.
Present.
And we have, for the record, Councilmember Ramos Amit is absent.
All right. The next item is item number 2. We do have an invocation. If anyone would like to step out, we'll afford you the opportunity to step out. I'd like to ask someone to stand and join us.
Before I pray for all of your meeting, I will stay within my time. I just want to thank you so much as the pastor of the Garden Fellowship for working with us to get us into our building. All of you worked exceptionally hard. And I just want to say, I know you met with many of my people that work for me, but from my heart, thank you so much. It's very rare that a pastor feels that way toward a city, but I told, this really is, but I told at our dedication, I told our congregation that I'm thankful that our church is in the city of Indio, and I'm thankful that I'm a personal resident of the city of Indio. So thank you guys so much, and you gals, for everything you do. Let me pray for your meeting.
Appreciate you.
Lord, thank you so much for these men and women and just what they do to faithfully serve our city. And I pray that you would give them wisdom. Lord, everything on their agenda today, everything they're facing in the weeks and the months to come, would you give them wisdom from on high to be able to represent you well and all the people who live in our city. So bless this meeting tonight, I pray. Speak to them, direct them, and guide them, and bless them and the city of Indio, we pray. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
I'd like to ask everyone to remain standing, and our Mayor Pro Tem lead us in the pledge of flag.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All righty. The next item is item number 4, City Attorney Report on Closed Session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council met in closed session for the items listed therein, and there's no reportable action.
All right. Thank you, City Attorney. We'll move on to item number 5, which is report on City Council external and internal boards. We'll go ahead and start with
Somebody else?
okay. I look down there, so this is no. Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of my committees were active. First off with Sunline Transit Agency. A couple of noteworthy items as they did the mobile hydrogen fueling station. They went ahead and purchased one already, so you'll see it in the East Valley here to be able to fill up the hydrogen cell buses, and hopefully they'll purchase more of them as they come available. And then also we had a labor agreement. We were part of the Teamsters, which is a new union in Sunline, and we came to an agreement with Teamsters Union for a new contract with them. So that's with Sunline, ECAC, myself and Ray Trejo from the Water Authority were on the meeting. Just talking about Cal ISO and EMI, which is a way to be able to sell electricity without being part of the large grid, be able to sell a little bit quicker. And then their basic items of looking at some improvements throughout their whole service area, including the Coachella Valley. So we'll see how that comes forward. And that was all forwarded on to the board for IID. And then I was on CVWD, their joint water board. Very pretty simple. We are going to go along with the $7 an acre foot raise. When people think about it, when I was in LA, water was like $1,500 an acre foot. Out here, it's like $80. And so $7 to be able to help replenish to keep the water up in our Coachella Valley is very, very reasonable. And so there really wasn't much discussion among us all. And we recommended to the CVWD board to continue on with what they'd already planned to do, which was a $7 per acre foot raise. You're talking about 10 cents an acre foot for usually people, probably about $2 for the average person. So very well accepted. A couple of great items. Want to thank the Elks Lodge for hosting the canine breakfast for us. They've continued to support our public safety, including just not only our canine unit, but all our public safety. So our thanks to them. Another one was the History Museum with the Japanese garden. Amazing. If you haven't been to our History Museum, you really got to go out and look at it. It is really a gem here in the desert. And it's right here in the city of Indio in Old Town Indio. Go down, have a look at it. The new Japanese garden. It's beautiful. Dedication. What a great event. And then lastly, I was at OLPH and had the day at the races. I haven't been to one of their events, and it was helping the church and the students in the school there. And they actually had horse races going on, the thing, betting and everything else. It was a 6-hour ordeal, but it was worth every minute of it. They raised some great money for the Catholic school. And so very blessed and look forward to the concerts coming. So everybody beware. We're going to have 120,000 people in our city here again. For the people that are inconvenienced, we apologize. For everyone else that's going to make money off it and have a great time, enjoy, and stick within the boundaries. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holmes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, a couple of things going on. I attended the Transportation Committee meeting and some interesting things, in all parts of our community, the greater Coachella Valley. We talked about Indian Canyon. That's up in Desert Hot Springs, and it's gone from now 2 lanes to 4 lanes. When any of us went into Desert Hot Springs, you had 1 lane going in each direction. It was a challenge. You got off the freeway, and then all of a sudden you just had a pretty rocky road, and that is finally completed. It's a beautiful 2-lane in either direction, a total of 4 lanes with left turn lanes. And I know that the city of Desert Hot Springs is very deserving and really, really very much appreciates that. On to Indio. I'm talking about the reimbursement agreement with the city of Indio for the Avenue 44 bridge. And so it's an amendment for the reimbursement agreement. So I guess the federal grant covered 88% initially. It's a $19 million project, but the new estimated figure is about 30 million. And so additionally, that's also comprised of not just rising costs, but there are CVWD requirements, new ones that we are so lucky to have thrown into the mix that made that price tag go higher. However, it increased CVAG's regional share of the project by $1.5 million and a not to exceed a total of $3.2 million. It was unanimously approved. So we look forward to that happening. And in the last part, again, there's just prices are going up. Costs are increasing like crazy. And this has to do with the TUMF inflation adjustment. And after a really long presentation and talking about what's gone up and how it's gone up and everything from the price of gasoline to the price of materials and whatnot, the net conversation is an 8.2% increase effective January of 2023. Again, that's the TUMF inflation adjustment. So that was the happy news coming out of the Transportation Commission meeting. Let's see also, and that really ended my commission meetings. I attended the Senior Inspiration Awards with the mayor. As everybody knows, that's one of my favorite functions and events. Really like to support our seniors. They're very active. They're out there. It's so neat because they bring their families, and it's a very, very proud moment for them. So we attended that. Also attended the Japanese garden rededication. It's beautiful. That museum, for those of you, if you haven't been there recently, is just improving by leaps and bounds. It's really becoming spectacular. And the Japanese garden rededication is huge. And it was beautiful, beautiful ceremony. So very happy to be a part of that. And one last thing I wanted to mention, and I kind of wanted everybody else's input. I noticed, we are working so hard in the city. Every time I turn around, there's something new happening. We see the walls are being repainted. I drove down Monroe. I drive down Miles. I drive down all kinds of places, and things are improving, as are the medians. And the medians coming into Highway 111, particularly from Jefferson, are our view. I mean, it's the first thing people see. And we used to have white roses in between the palm trees. And then at the nose, we used to have a selection of really pretty flowers that were just switched out every year. They were, like red, like a petunia type red and yellow and blue. And it was a little splash of colors, nothing huge, but it was a very classy and very pretty. And now I've noticed we've gone to oleanders and lantana. And I know that we're talking about beautification of our city, but I just wonder if we could consider or reconsider what that might mean and go back to considering, the white roses and some of the lantana mixed into that, along with that color on the end, really makes a striking entrance. And I think that's what we're looking for, is a striking entrance. Does anybody else have any thoughts, or is that just kind of my thing? Uh-oh.
No,
Jump in.
I concur with you. I think we need to have a look at all our mediums. We have such a difference of contrast there. We do have to have a splash. We talked about our entry points too, about putting our art pieces there. You got that little block wall right before goes into the flood control area that's always been there. We talked about putting an entry thing or a statement there, or art piece. I do think we need to invest on Highway 111 and Jefferson, and all our entries need to have a dedicated look to them. But we got to get something that, one, we can maintain, but second, at the same time, that has a splash of color. But there should be certain entry areas where we actually highlight the city, because that's the first thing people see when they come through. So that signage got to be crisp, and you got to have some color.
It's got to be some color, and it's got to be nice. I mean, oleanders are kind of the next best thing to a weed. So there's nice DG everywhere, and it's really, everything's starting to spruce up. In fact, I was driving my husband back from the doctor's this afternoon, and there's a little bit of DG in the street because there was something going on. It was really kind of cool, and I really appreciate it. But pretty please, can we do something prettier and classier in our medians without, we don't need to, have roses shipped in from, I don't know, Newport Beach or something. We just need something nice and pretty and a splash of color.
Yeah, I think they were desert roses like they have at Toscana and some other places. You use them on golf course because they're easy to maintain.
Exactly.
And you just hedge them and they come back up.
That's right. Those white ones are beautiful from that perspective.
You just need to give Tim a little more money for maintenance.
City manager, can you please give Tim a little more money for maintenance? And that ends my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I agree. So we'll move on to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for joining us for our council meeting today. Last month, I had the opportunity to attend the Civic Wall Conference in Yosemite. We had some great speakers, mostly focusing on sustainability and the future of California in terms of new technologies and new strategies for making our state resilient to the impacts of climate change. Driving up to Yosemite, we could actually see the devastation to the forest over the past few years from the increasing damage of wildfires. We could also see the new controlled burns that they are implementing to prevent wildfires from gaining so much momentum and keeping the forest at the right density, optimal for the plants and wildlife. We learned about how the state priorities are changing, such as a new focus on improving conditions of natural habitats to naturally sequester more carbon from the atmosphere and bring back the biodiversity in our different ecosystems throughout the state. We also learned about the new focus on biogas, which can be captured from landfills and dairy farms and then used to power vehicles. Some speakers also discussed new funding opportunities with hundreds of millions of dollars that will be dispersed to help our cities in preparing for the increase in extreme weather patterns that we will be seeing in the following years. Overall, it was a great learning opportunity that will help me provide input into our grant proposals in our city and also help me guide my decisions within the Coachella Valley Energy and Environment Commission, as well as the Southern California Energy and Environment Commission. I also had a meeting with the Water Education for Latino Leaders, where we discussed the growing problem of forever chemicals and cyanotoxins in our water supplies. Both of these can be harmful in several ways to our bodies and organs. Forever chemicals are contaminants that are produced in industrial production of plastics, foams, and other materials. They eventually end up in our water supply and are expected to survive in our water systems for hundreds or thousands of years. Cyanotoxins come from certain algae, and these live in bodies of fresh water like lakes and rivers, and increasing temperatures from climate change are increasing the amount of this algae and the amount of cyanotoxins in our water systems. It seems that we're a bit behind in the US compared to European countries in terms of dealing with both of these chemicals. We do have water treatment options available, but most European countries have developed strict standards for cyanotoxins, and the UK has scheduled a ban on the use of forever chemicals by 2030. We have not seen these actions in the US, so we'll be working on raising awareness on these issues with our local and national legislators. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And also my boards were dark, and I just want to start off with my favorite words that I'm super excited. I think people are tired of hearing me say I'm super excited, but I am, and I had the opportunity to say that again today on the news. So I'll start off by saying that I attended the California Care Force Medical Free Clinic that was held at the Riverside County Fairgrounds on March 25th. I want to thank everyone who made that possible. I want to thank Rudy Morales for working on that with all the folks at California Care Force. That is a big event, free clinic that takes place here. And it doesn't only serve the residents of Indio, it serves our whole Coachella Valley and our whole region. And talking to the organizers, I hope that we could support them more in the future. I hope our community could support them more in the future. When I walked around to see some of the services that were being handled there, from vision, real extensive dental work, COVID testing, STD testing, they really have an extensive free clinic for our community. And I was appalled by the work. So I'm very, very appreciative of that. And a lot of the folks I talked to, you would think that their employment would take care of those benefits. Well, there were folks there who have jobs, but they don't have dental or they don't have vision in their plans. So some folks were coming on their work breaks or lunches to get some of those services. So that's how important it is that we really need to support that and keep that here in our city. So that was a great clinic. Like Councilmember Miller mentioned already, I attended the Pancake Fundraiser for Indio Police Department's K-9 unit at the Elks Lodge. And I'll echo his words. The Elks Lodge is a very big supporter and partner in our city. And we're very appreciative of them. And we're glad that they are supporting our K-9 unit and our police department, that's a very, very unique situation. I mean, the chief could tell you about, that program and the dogs and what they actually do. And so that's a great tool to have for our officers out there to keep our community safe. So thank you, Chief, as well, for having that program here. I also attended the Japanese Memorial Garden Rededication along with Councilmember Miller and Holmes. Another great event. If you haven't been to our history museum, you need to go and you need to see this garden. I've seen a couple of trees that I would like to take home. Very, very nice ceremony. I was actually part of the ceremony, the religious ceremony. So that was a great experience. So I want to thank everyone at the Coachella Valley History Museum for making that happen. They're also a great partner to the city and looking forward to having more events there and working with them as well. And I moved on from there to the Women's Council of Realtors Mayor's Panel. I know some of our former mayors who are here have taken part of that. And what it is, it's a panel where you get to discuss what's going on in your city. And all of the cities from the Coachella Valley were there, and you have 15 minutes. After this panel discussion, I contacted the city manager and I said, 15 minutes is not enough to talk about what's going on in the city of Indio. And that is a testament to our staff who are working behind the scenes to make this engine move forward, and our council for making bold decisions moving forward in our future. So I want to thank everyone that's here. I want to thank our council. We're moving very fast. And I just want to share a couple of things that I spoke about there and I shared to the community who were so excited. These are some of the things I shared. The Indio Marketplace starts construction 2022 in June. Regent Theaters starts construction this year. Ono Hawaiian Barbecue is in construction now, opening soon. Texas Roadhouse, early 2023. Raising Cane's, open 2023. TKB expansion is now open. Dave's Hot Chicken is now open. Fiesta Kia is opening soon, which is in construction now. Unicars Honda will be starting construction soon. CV Link has already started construction. We've already seen that, those big land movers out there, they've already started construction. Monroe and Jackson bridges are in planning. Arroyo Crossing, which is approximately 400 affordable housing units, starting construction soon. Indio Sports Park in planning, which we received $8.5 million grant for. College of the Desert expansion, construction groundbreaking already happened. Construction starting soon. Coachella Valley Music and Arts, Stagecoach, and Tamale Festival, Southwest Arts Festival have already returned this year, which is coming soon. So Barley K Art Structure, Dr. Carry-On Park. Colossal Cacti Art Structure, which is right down the street here in downtown Indio. We have our second Saturday's events, Take Center Stage Live downtown in the city of Indio. We have our Indio Certified Farmers Market, which is in town in Bliss, Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2. We have the Coachella Valley History Museum, which is downtown. And we have all of our great restaurants, El Mex Cali Cafe, Rincon Norteño, Everbloom Coffee. We have great folks here. We are also getting ready to do our groundbreaking for our public safety campus. And that's just a few things. That's not everything that's going on in our city. So when I was able to share those things, folks were very excited. And that's a testament to all the hard work that's going on behind the scenes in our staff and our council. So that's greatly appreciated. From there, I went on to the Senior Inspirational Awards, where the City of Indio honored Eugenie Ballantine for her community service in the City of Indio. She is a longtime resident in the City of Indio. She's always at the Senior Center, and she's a great person in our community. So we honored her there, and that was a great event. So thank you to the County of Riverside. Thank you to Supervisor Manuel Perez for holding that event. And that event is held every year. It's a tradition from various county supervisors, and it was great to be part of that. Also, today, we did the groundbreaking and I should say ribbon cutting for the Bird e-scooters. So that's very exciting. I know some of us have seen the scooters out there in some of our communities this last couple of days. Well, we did the ribbon cutting and I was actually able to ride one. I think Mayor Pro Tim got a chance to ride one. Our chief rode one. Tim also rode one. So it's great, something new in our community. But moving forward, it's important because we really have to think about innovative and affordable ways of transportation in our communities, especially in what we're dealing with now. And clean energy is the future. We just heard what Councilmember Miller said about the hydrogen project at Sunline. So clean energy is the future. And so we have to be forward thinking about means of transportation in the future, especially with our YAC kids here, So I think that's great in our community. It's going to serve our residents. It's going to serve our students. It's going to help us alleviate some of those traffic problems that we have in our festivals. We've invested in pedestrian bike lanes. So, we have the roadmap for that. So it's going to be successful in our community. So just a reminder, yes, our festivals are here. Welcome back. Coachella Music and Arts Festival, the most popular and biggest music festival in the world. We're ecstatic about it. I'm looking forward to it. I might pop in and see some of the acts, but it's for the young adults and the kids, and looking forward to Stagecoach also returning. And we're also having a ribbon cutting for Sabarla K over at the Carry-On Park. That will be April 20th, along with the Mobius Youth Empowerment Hub that we've done here before we sponsored. So that will be April 20th. And if you want to check out a very, very cool video about Sabarla K and Francis Cadet, who is the artist who brought us Sabarla K, it's on YouTube. Through Box of Kittens. That's the name of the company who did the video, but it's an excellent video. I got interviewed on it and they did a really good job on that. But Francis Cadet, he did win the Pritzker Prize Award, and that's like the Nobel Peace Prize Award for artists, architecture, so he's very, very dedicated and well respected in his world. So check out that video on YouTube. And that would complete my report. So thank you. And now we have appointments. Yes. So item 6.1 is appointment to the Public Arts Commission to fill one vacancy that has an expired term. Councilmember Holmes, that's
yes,
yours.
That's me. I am very, very excited. Unfortunately, my prior arts commissioner has moved on, but I'm very excited to present to the council. We're good?
Oh, yeah, no, I got it. Yeah.
Okay, we're good?
Yes.
We're good. Okay. Very, very happy and excited to present to my council here, Noe Gutierrez, for filling that vacant seat. I have known Noe for years, since I've been here, a good 15 years at least. He has had a vision for the city, a vision for this downtown, arts, music, cafes. He has tried to spend as much of his own money as he possibly could, trying to get this place up and running. We've had countless discussions. His passion is off the charts for our community. And I'm very excited to have him be our commissioner on the Arts Commission. If the council would also agree with that, please.
Actually, yes.
And
I'll make
can we
that
bring him?
motion.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And we can bring Noe upstairs.
Noe here? Oh,
yeah, he's right here. Yeah, awesome.
Good evening. Mayor Furman, Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz, City Council members Miller and Holmes, city staff, fellow residents in attendance. I'd like to thank Councilmember Holmes for appointing me to the Public Arts Commission representing Council District 3. I've been a resident here for 47 years, and during that time have developed a passion for the arts that began at Roosevelt Elementary, thanks to my art teacher, Mrs. Turner, in Area 3, might add. She taught me that art is personal and to be shared, and that we can find beauty in much of the world. Removing the blinders allowed me to see the beauty in everyday things. I look forward to continuing to serve my community as a member of the Arts Commission. I'm hoping that my background in macro and micro social work will provide a new perspective on the commission. And although the appointment ends in December, I plan to put my all into the opportunity, and look forward to working alongside Mr. Neumeier, Mr. Shinsky, Ms. Becerra, and Ms. Zendas. So once again, I just want to really thank you very much, Elaine, because, we've had numerous conversations and, walking the streets. And I was talking to Officer Kustik earlier about, in my time here, I probably walked every cubic inch of the city on foot as a kid, and loved every minute of it. And this is the late 70s, early 80s. So we've grown a lot, and I look forward to continuing to lift up the city and, provide that global perspective. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Welcome.
Okay, I think we need to take a vote.
I think we just need a motion.
I already made a motion. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
We got a motion by Councilmember Miller and a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Vote, please.
Councilmember Holmes,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz,
Aye.
and Mayor Furman.
Aye. Passes. Welcome. Welcome to Team Indio.
Yeah.
So no swearing in now, or?
We can, if the city clerk is ready. I don't know if she has.
Yes, I have the oath if you would allow me to do that now.
Absolutely.
Come on up.
I'll just have you just close to you, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and then state your name,
I, Noe Gutierrez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United
and the
States
Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
I am about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I need your signature.
Yes.
Now, we're just going to make some modifications to the agenda, being that our next meeting will be April 20th. And that's usually when we have Yak at that second meeting, but we're going to bring them here today. So now we have Yak here, and we'd like to ask them if you have a report for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kaylee Cisneros, and I'm here to report what we have been working on. First of all, we will be working with Mobius. They are having an event on April 20th from 10 to 12 a.m., and the YAC will be running the conversation tables. Next, the Teen Center held their prom dress giveaway, and 50 girls said yes to the dress. We also attended the Desert Town Hall at the Esmeralda Resort, and we got to talk to Paul Nicholton. Some upcoming events are Dia de los Niños at the Indio Library and the FNL Award Banquet. Thank you, and that would conclude my report.
Great, thank you. So can I ask a question? So Yak is going to be at Mobius. What will you guys be doing there?
We are going to be asking the tables that we're working with some questions, and they're going to give their opinions, and we will be telling the people that are working with Mobius what the audience and everybody else thinks and their opinions.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your report. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
All righty. So now we'll move on to item number 7, which is city manager reports and information.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, of all the many things you mentioned, we have an opportunity to have an event downtown during the festival timeframe. So I don't know if I want to steal your thunder or you want to
No, go ahead.
We really
And I can jump in down.
is there some,
That's a yellow. We're good. Yes, sir. Oh, I apologize for that.
it's okay. So on April 20th at 5:00, the Cella event and concerts will be held downtown. So we look forward to that opportunity here just on the corner of Bliss and Town on that patch of grass where the farmers market is held each Sunday to have the Cella concert. So more information will be forthcoming, but in conversations the mayor's had with Golden Voice and the opportunity to bring some of those bands and performers in a free concert downtown is a huge step in the right direction and bring some activity downtown and some of that impact of the festivals here. So we look forward to that. That will impact our city council in just a little bit in that we want to start at 4:00 for our regular meeting. I'm sure people will gather from after 5:00, but it starts at 5:00 at Cella. We should hope perhaps wrap up the meeting by 6:00 and be able to participate ourselves. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, big news. Free concert downtown Indio, right? That's big news. Thank you, city manager. Thank you, Chief Washburn. There was some maneuvering behind the scenes so we could see that this happened, but thanks to all the minds coming together. Thank you to Golden Voice for making this happen. And, this is a dream of a lot of ours, to just come downtown to a free concert and to have some of our local bands and possibly some nationally known talent performing down here in downtown Indio for a free event. So this is going to be great. So looking forward to that. So now we'll move on to item number 8, which is consent calendar. And Councilmember Holmes has 2 items.
I have like 4 items.
4 items.
But I think it's okay as long as nothing is pulled.
That's correct.
That's what we were at.
If I can jump in,
Please.
Mr. Mayor, if none of the items are pulled, then Councilmember Holmes can stay on the dais and participate in the vote, and that she will record an abstention. So I know we have some public comments as well. So if you want to see,
we do have public comments.
if you want to see if there's anybody who needs to pull any item, otherwise everything will stay on the consent calendar. And then you can take a motion and a second. And before you vote, you'll take the public comments.
Yes. So I think we're fine. I'll take a motion.
I do want to pull one item, the 8.13. I just had a question on a small part of that item.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
You want to pull it or do you want to just ask her a question?
Just ask the question maybe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and my only question there is
That's the arts.
for the 9/11 Memorial Project. Just wanted to see what is planned for the 125,000, or if we have any plans yet for that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I have a presentation. There's nothing selected yet. However, I have some samples that I can show what could happen, but we haven't gone out for RFP, request for proposal yet. But this is just to get the council approve and appropriate the money. It will be the maximum budget for such a project, but I can go through.
So we don't need to.
It's just a earmark.
Yeah. This is just to get the funding for it and then come back with examples of, yeah.
Yeah, so I can show it you real quick. The location is basically by the new public safety campus, by the palm trees. This is the proposed location. The piece that we have, it's about 10 to 12 feet tall with a curve. There are some samples, as you can see, artists use the piece by itself, and also they use, for example, a pilaster or pedestal with a slope so people can't go on top and touch it. So there are several some examples of such, but as I said, we haven't selected the artist, we haven't done the RFP, and we'll go out for that, and then Arts Commission will approve all, and we go through the proper process.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Layla, just for the audience, can you tell them what the piece is actually? I mean, in 9/11, what it came from and
Sure. So the city received a World Trade Center artifact years ago. As I showed you, that's the metal piece that we have received. And now we have a great opportunity to put it in the public safety campus. So we are happy to do so. And by itself, that piece is very powerful. So I'm very happy and pleased to be able to get the piece and also be able to go to the Arts Commission, also and also City Council to get the appropriation for such a monumental piece. Thank you.
Also, just wanted to say thank you for the work plan and all the work that went into it. It looks really good, and I'm very excited to see all these new murals and small art projects that are proposed in the work plan. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'll make a motion if no one else has anything to accept the consent calendar, item 8.1 through 8.13.
Yeah, what we're gonna do, there's a motion, but I'm gonna take some public comments and then we'll proceed with the motion, okay? I have comments for item 8.10, and I will start with Aurelio Armenta. And just before we start, item 8.10 is approval of a building lease agreement with Aventina Music LLC for the property located at 82707 Miles Avenue and finding conformity with the general plan. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I speak in Spanish because, sorry. I am speaking in Spanish because my English is not very well. Possibly somebody give me introduction. Buenas tardes, primero que nada. Okay, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Maurilio Armenta. Primero que nada, doy gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is
Maurilio
Armenta.
Gracias por darme la oportunidad de estar aquí en frente de ustedes.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in front of you, the council.
Yo soy residente de esta ciudad por más de 30 años.
I'm a resident of the city of Indio for more than 30 years.
Apoyo y asisto a servicios de danza azteca, Citlaltonac.
I support the danza
azteca. Danza
azteca.
Citlaltonac.
Mi
comentario es sobre el tema 8.10.
My comment is on 8.10.
De la agenda, el arrendamiento del edificio en 82707 Miles Avenida, en el centro de Indio. El motivo de mi comentario público es solicitar o exigir al Consejo un proceso justo y transparente.
My comment for this item is so that the council can be justo, can be fair on this item.
Como el de otras ciudades de este valle de Coachella.
As other cities in the Coachella Valley.
Para la asignación de edificios en el centro de Indio.
For the assignment of buildings that belong to the city.
La ciudad de Indio selecciona y elige o discrimina a las mujeres indígenas.
The city of Indio, ¿qué dijo?
Discrimina a las mujeres indígenas o
indigenous
nativas.
Women
or
native.
La cultura indígena, las personas y empresas, las organizaciones sin fines de lucro.
Any organizations on native
no profit, más o menos. las personas pobres, las personas de color y los residentes de Indio.
The poor,
Las personas de color y los
people of
residentes de
color,
Indio,
and the residents of Indio,
que han vivido aquí por más tiempo que la mayoría del personal de la ciudad.
that lived here longer than the personnel of the city of Indio.
El problema aquí es que la ciudad
The problem is that the city of Indio
ha fomentado la falta de un sistema transparente
does not have a transparent process
para el acceso a estas áreas del centro y posiblemente a otros lugares a su servicio.
for access of buildings that are in the city.
El hecho de no implementar prácticas básicas y justas en las que los miembros,
Otra vez.
el hecho de no implementar prácticas básicas y justas
The fact that the city does not implement practices that are fair,
en las que los miembros desfavorecidos
in which members that are not favored
de la comunidad pueden calificar
of the community that they could qualify
para iniciar un negocio.
to build a business.
Impacta a nuestras comunidades porque la toma de de decisiones a puertas cerradas.
That impacts the decisiones,
Decisiones a puertas
impacts
cerradas.
decisions from the closed session, that
Hace
come out of closed session.
hace que el dinero de nuestros impuestos se gaste sin el consentimiento de los contribuyentes.
Feels that the taxes that are paid by the residents of Indio
Sin consentimiento de los
without consent
contribuyentes.
of the taxpayers.
Is that just
¿Sí?
30 more seconds?
Ok,
30 segundos.
ok. Necesitamos de un progreso transparente que no discrimine a las clases de personas
We need a fair
protegidas.
process so that there's no discrimination against minorities.
Terceras o quintas partes del consejo están permitiendo
Third of the council is permitting
activamente este sistema
this process
y comportamiento deshonrando que se discrimina
and discrimination
y establece quién puede sobresalir y quién no.
and chooses who succeeds and who doesn't. Gracias.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Armenta. Next speaker is Jalen Regosa.
Jacqueline Archuleta Regosa. Thank you for your time. Basically, I'm in some support of Danza Azteca. And I just think that I guess what they want is transparency, to rent the buildings. They didn't ask for discounts or a lower price. It's a nonprofit organization that it contributes to not just Indio community, but the whole valley, and teaches indigenous culture and traditions. And although like all the Coachella stuff and everything is really exciting for the city and important for growth, I think it's also important to keep the traditions and culture that was here before all of that, and to somehow maybe integrate them. So I think it's important that, we keep, transparency and make sure everyone has the equal right or attempt to rent a building, no picking and choosing like that. I'm not good with words, but anyways, I'm in support of them, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry if I got your name incorrect. I'm
It's
sorry.
all right.
Yeah. Jonathan Becerra.
Good morning, good evening, guys. Very frank, I don't like kind of coming here. I get anxiety of public speaking, but I'll be honest, my mother kind of convinced me to come. She's very dutiful in how we present ourselves in terms of is it going to be personally rough for you? But if all these people are literally telling you these things, are you doing more harm but not speaking the truth? And the truth is, I've kind of been talking about this for years. And it's been only the past couple of weeks that this lack of process has made me realize it's not just my business personally that's been affected, I believe. And it's all these other people who do better work than I do, who help the community better than I do, who feel the same way. And I feel like I talk ad nauseum about how to do better, research and try to come up with better ideas. It's just, the problem is we just need to something needs to be put down for us to refer to and be on the same page about, and we're not there. And it's deeply frustrating because this is how I provide for myself. And in my hometown, I have little imprint without being contracted by a third party. And I just can't figure out why anymore. And I'm kind of exhausted personally by that. And I'm only here because if I, at my level of experience here, can feel like that, and these people who are just trying to support their culture can feel like that there is a real problem here. It may not be the world ending, but it's just something that needs to be addressed, because if we can't figure out how to literally bring people together in the event style or community, gathering style, and where everyone feels like they at least have a shot. You could be wrong. I could be told no, but I can't be told there's no reason, or there's no participation for that. And it seems to be going on with other people. And it's scary, because I know there's consequences to speaking truth that kind of maybe feels sharp. But like I said, my mother really convinced me that it doesn't matter, because that's our job. If people come to us and say, this is what I'm experiencing, because what else am I doing if not listening? And then there's no point. I'm not sharing those people's experiences. This is happening to other people. And it's not something that can be fixed. The whole point of us being in this room is because we think of this town as a commitment that we're all sacred to. So I hope in the end, these people are listened to, that there's something going on and we need to address it. And I really hope that that's heard through everything here. So thank you guys for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra. Next speaker, Gabriela Menta.
Good afternoon, City Council. My comment is on item 810, the approval of the lease of the building located on Miles Avenue. My name is Gabriela Armenta. I have been a resident of the city of Indio for the past 29 years. My work revolves around creating a safe, creative spaces, affordable to free for the community in the music, arts, traditional indigenous arts, and ceremonial practices. As a program coordinator for Culturas, Music and Arts, and along with founding members, local artists, musicians from the Coachella Valley, we have successfully run a music and arts festival in the city of Coachella. Synergy Fest brings in attendance 1,500 to 2,600 people every year. Other events include Women Rising, an event that empowers and uplifts local women in the Valley, Arte de Barrio, Coachella Art Walk. We host countless of pop-up events, local art, live music, entertainment, and vendors for the past 12 years. So many local artists reside in the city and west of the Coachella Valley that back in 2017, for 2 years, Culturas tried to replicate and bring that same work to the city of Indio, those programs, and submitted a proposal that would generate jobs, bring entertainment and life back to downtown, only to be rejected. I'm also the co-founder of Danza Azteca Citlatonac, an indigenous-based and now nonprofit organization. We have served and worked with over 300 participants and their families. And in 2019, we met with the city of Indio to request information for a building lease, specifically the item on on item 810. We did not ask for any discounts or free rent. Our goal was to create a safe community space offering Mexican indigenous workshops and ceremonial practices, peer-to-peer support groups, pop-up events, vendors, so on, live music. We wanted to share a collaborative space for local individuals, businesses, and organizations. And still, we were quickly referred to look at other buildings outside downtown because, quote, those would be going to big chain restaurants and department stores without giving the opportunity to continue the process of submitting a proposal. According to the City of Indio's Economic Development Plan and staff report, the goal is to revitalize downtown, bring new jobs, generate property taxes, create outdoor venues, community events, gathering food, very similar to what we were proposing, along with other businesses. In November of 2021, the city received a business plan from an LLC to create a hub for high-quality music programming. They will bring in music venue, local entertainment, serve as a hub, and again, high-quality music programming to downtown. I can go as far back as 2017, where I noticed all of the empty storefronts. So that makes me wonder, do we not meet the standard for the city of Indio? How many times does the community members, artists, entrepreneurs, organizations must be denied the opportunity to grow in a place we call home? As an Indigenous Mexican woman, I see it all the time. The needs and wants of our community always get pushed to the side. And time after time, the city of Indio picks and chooses who they do business with. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Armenta. Next speaker is Claudia Armenta. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Armenta, and I'm a resident of the city of Indio. I'm also the co-founder and instructor of Danza Azteca Citlatonac. My comment is on agenda item 810, the leasing of the building in downtown. The reason for my public comment is to request council a fair and transparent process, like the ones that other cities have in the Coachella Valley, for allocating a building in downtown. Similar to the other comments, Danza Azteca Citlatonac is an Indigenous-based nonprofit organization. We serve over 300 families, providing a safe community space with Mexican Indigenous workshops, ceremonial practices, and holistic peer-to-peer support groups. When we asked to meet with the city and request a building, the same one on this item, we were turned away, leaving us without a permanent space and limiting how many families we could serve in the city of Indio. The city of Indio is selective with who they pick and choose for their buildings. They are discriminating against us Indigenous women, Indigenous cultures, queer individuals and companies, nonprofits, low-income communities, people of color, and Indio residents. The problem here is that the city has fostered lack of transparent system for access for these downtown areas and possibly maybe even other areas. There's a failure to implement basic and fair practices, which underprivileged community members are qualified to have access for a space in downtown. There is closed door sessions and making tax money get spent without taxpayers' consent. Once again, I am here to request a fair and transparent process for allocating these buildings in downtown. I also wanted to add that my father, Maurilio Armenta, he spoke in Spanish, and half of what he said in his comment was not translated correctly. There has to be an interpreter. There has to be agendas in Spanish. He did not have access to an agenda in Spanish here. He did not have the proper interpretation for his public comment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Armenta. Ms. Sanchez, do we have a comment on Zoom?
We do. Annalisa Vargas, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, hello. Hi. Good evening. My name is Annalisa Vargas, and I'm a resident of Indio, and I'm also here speaking on item 8.10. And I've attended various events, and I support Danza Azteca Citlatonac. I also, like they mentioned, here in the city of Indio, they're not the only group that has expressed that they've been treated unfairly. I've spoken to people that have also wanted to start like small businesses, and they say that it's really difficult in the city of Indio and that outsiders are more likely to be able to have better treatment than people that have lived here all their lives, and that it's a shame that that's happening. And so even the issue of Spanish translation, I mean, how many times do we have to ask and make it so that our community has access to simultaneous translation in their language, when the majority of the population is Latino and most of them are monolanguage Spanish speakers? And we ask that the city develop a more transparent system for access to these downtown areas and also other parts of the city. I mean, because the downtown, yes, we want to make it vibrant, but we want to make it inclusive and something that comes from the community, not so that outsiders can come and enjoy, but this is something for our families and children, just how we lack parks, that I can't take my daughter, I have to drive to other cities so that my child can have a nice park to play in. And I've also expressed, I want to put my daughter into, I just asked Claudia and Gabi this past weekend that I'm interested in having my daughter, when she turns 2 years old, to start learning danza azteca. And it would be a shame that you cannot provide a space for them. They're willing to pay the market value. They're not asking for a donation or a discounted rate. And also I would like to say that there are cities out there that lease their buildings for $1 a year to nonprofits. And so I would think it's in the best interest of Indio to have this type of service provided, that if you're allowed, I mean, there's all these vacant buildings and maybe you need more input from the community so you can develop better planning and also transparency in how these decisions are made, because we will keep coming back time and time again to continue to make these requests and to continue to advocate for our families and communities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other?
No, I do have the Josiah Gonzalez. He's he is the applicant. Yes, he raised his hand. Do you?
Well, that's suitable city attorney. The applicant is asking to speak, but I mean, we can't respond, but this is about the process, not about the applicant himself.
If the applicant, I don't know if he's on Zoom or if he's here in person.
Zoom.
If he has raised his hand to speak on the item, he can certainly speak. That's his prerogative from a Brown Act perspective. And I think at this time, just because I believe that there's Councilmember Ortiz would like to ask some questions. Councilmember Holmes was going to recuse herself on this item. Under the FPPC rules, that is not a problem if the item stays on the consent calendar. Even though it's on the consent calendar, I've advised her it's probably better for her just to leave the room, and then she'll come back after all the questions have been asked and answered.
Okay.
And if
he's on Zoom.
So we'll go with the applicant first and then.
Yeah, he'll just be treated as a regular public comment member.
Okay, so it's public comment, yes.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Josiah. Thank you, council members and everyone sitting here for taking this time. I'm not super familiar with the decorum for most of these. I'm just another regular citizen, small business owner. I want to give some background as to what my company does. We have been playing music live starting in a garage in 2017. We slowly built a music company that caters to a lot of the resort community out here, but we're based in Indio. So my family's been in the city of Indio for 50 years since my grandmother moved here. I've lived in Indio most of my adult life except for college. And my 3 brothers and I started Avenida Music a couple of years ago, like I said, in a garage. And we kind of moved up from there and began playing more and more events. So I'm really grateful. We've worked with several of the nonprofits in the city of Indio that the city of Indio has generously given a lot of leeway with regard to these buildings in downtown. We've worked closely and donated to AMP, the Academy of Music Performance. And I've also participated and visited CV Arts Center. And I know the city has donated a lot of resources to both of those nonprofit organizations. Working with AMP, we also saw that there was a huge possibility for us as locals to impact the local community. So I come from a nonprofit background. I actually worked for Desert Arc for about 7 years. So one of my priorities as a new business owner, very small, there are 3 of us. We are all local and have been local our whole lives. And our goal is to impact our community positively. We are all minority owners. So we are people of color. And we also have stated in our agenda that I've already reached out to Desert Arc. We're going to be hiring people with developmental disabilities as some of our first employees in an effort to support that community. And this process for us has been really laborious. I don't know anybody in the city. I don't have inside connections. This is something that I've worked with nonprofits, and one conversation leads to another. And we looked at this building and said, wouldn't it be a dream to have a location where we can bring the arts community around and the disenfranchised artists and give them a platform to develop, their voice. And so we worked really hard for about 5 years. We saved our pennies. We don't have any investor money. This is money coming out of our own pockets that we saved from gigs that we played kind of dollar by dollar. And, I thought it was amazing that the city was willing to take a look at what we were doing. They saw that we were serious. They saw that we had a plan for developing this both economically and within the context of what the city is trying to do for the development of the downtown. We've done a lot of research, understanding peer-reviewed articles for how to develop these cities. And, we're really happy to be here. We're really happy to work with the city. But I just wanted to give a little bit of context as to who we are and why we're trying to, build this company where we are.
Right, thank you for your comments. We'll move on to Councilmember Ortiz. You have questions? Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. So it sounds like we have two really good applicants, right? That came through this process, and one was rejected, one was accepted. And I guess one of my questions would be if both applicants were given the same information regarding to what the city was looking for in terms of leasing this property.
There's a distinct timing difference. So Mr. Morgan can best answer that. He was here back in 2017 when this first came up. So there's a lot of history that will help explain.
Carl Morgan, Economic Development Director, City of Indio. And as City Manager said, I've been in the city since July of 2016, I believe. July 7th was my first day. So I was here when Culturas came forward in Coachella magazine. And at the time, we were really excited about the proposal, and I have a PowerPoint and proposals that they submitted. We worked diligently with council support to bring forward those proposals and try and put them in this space.
So, sorry, Carl, can we make sure that Culturas was the same organization that they're referring to? Because I think that might be a different.
Well, it was Culturas at the time. I don't know if it's morphed and changed since then, but
is that the one that you guys are talking about, Silale?
Yeah, there was Culturas and then there was Coachella magazine. There was 2 different proposals that came in to me. Okay. I don't know about some of the other things you mentioned. I can only speak to the things that I experienced.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, maybe worth clarifying than just jumping in that. So there has not been a recent proposal from those that have spoken this evening. This goes back 4 or 5 years now.
That's correct, City Manager. And I think it's important to point out that Josiah and Avenida Music was actually a subtenant of AMP, and AMP wanted to use that space. So they gave them a 30-day notice. And then Avenida Music approached us and said, hey, we'd like to go into this space. But let me go back to the conversation that we had and kind of the 2-year history of that 2017, 2018 genre. We went through a process where we took their proposals. We had some closed session conversations with the council. We got direction. We prepared a lease agreement where we were going to lease that building because at that time it was owned by the successor agency, the former redevelopment agency. And as a procedural matter, we approached the Department of Finance that controls what we do with that real estate. because those dollars go to the taxing agencies. And when we approached them, they said, no. The city can't lease that from the redevelopment agency. You have to, as a successor agency, sell that property, get the money, and transmit that then through the county to the taxing agencies to distribute to them. Okay. So they stopped that process for us that we were planning to do. Then we went to the council several months later and talked to the council about actually having the city buy all of the successor agency properties in downtown in 2 different purchases. So the first tranche was in April of 2018, and the next one was in 2019. So now we control that real estate. I had not had any additional contact with Culturis or Coachella Magazine from that point forward. Those properties have been available and empty, as was mentioned, for a number of years. And I would say that if those organizations want to approach the city and work with us to go into either a privately owned space in downtown or a publicly owned space in downtown, I'm always open and happy to work with them. I can give you my card before you leave today, but this has been a very transparent process. These properties have been on the market. We've marketed them through the redevelopment agency as a city, and this is a really great proposal from a very good community-based organization that wants to do great things in our downtown. And staff recommends that we roll this forward. And again, I'm happy to work with the folks that are here with respect to finding a place for them in our city.
All right. This for clarification, Mr. Morgan. The last time the conversation you had with Cotortis, that was before. There hasn't been recent conversation.
There has not.
Okay, so I'd like to ask before everyone leaves, let's exchange information and let's have a conversation.
Happy to do that.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Another question I have is how the properties are marketed. I think usually they're just placed out for, I guess these aren't going through RFPs, right?
Well, we actually if you recall, back in 2019, we did a RFQ of all the properties in downtown through a request for qualifications. And that was to master developers to come into our city. We did receive some. We went down the road and worked on that. But there's been flyers up on this building for a couple of years. Our retail consultant, the retail coach, and myself and other economic development staff have been marketing and promoting these properties through the brokerage community, through ICSC, the International Council of Shopping Centers. And they have been available. We are approachable. I'm on the website and available.
The only other question I have is on those flyers or in that type of marketing, do we have, because I know like in some of the downtown properties, we wanted them to be open all day, right? There are certain hours that we want to require it to be open and for business. Is that type of information available in those flyers or in that marketing?
It was in this in particular because it was considered and the desirability of it per their specific plan was to get an active use in this building. Because it's at the hard corner of Oasis and Miles. The council wanted to have activation, have something that was open, a long time during the day and into the evening that folks could go to and have fun in downtown and experience. So there are certain buildings in downtown that I think are more desirable and more akin to a restaurant or retail use. And then there's others that would be not so, right? That would be more used for an office or something that would not be in active use.
Yeah, no, I think I just want to make sure that when people are looking at the buildings, that they know what we're looking for at the same time, so that when they bring their proposals, they know what measures they got to meet.
We're very transparent about what the ground rules are with respect to that, what the specific plan says. We connect in with our community development director, Kevin Snyder, and any proposal that comes into us, we bring forward and run through the process. We don't make a staff decision to say this one gets here and this one doesn't.
Gotcha.
We always bring those forward through the city manager to the council.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate your time, Mr. Morgan. I brought numerous folks to you and we walked and talked, even some who had potential and some didn't, but we always did our due diligence. So if that conversation does take place, there's a lot of opportunity and potential in our downtown and throughout our city with other properties, and we're all for it. Indio's open for business. So thank you for your time. And if we can ask for Councilmember Holmes to come back. So we have a motion on the floor for a consent calendar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Miller, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz. Can I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes.
Okay, yay, except that I am abstaining on items 8.5, 8.9, 8.10, and 8.13.
And then just for the record, the recusal is because she owns her real property within 1,000 feet of those properties, both on the business side and on the personal side. The personal side is
Cahovanian.
The Cahovanian items. And then 810 is her business property. 813, the only reason for the recusal is because it includes, the work plan includes murals, discussion of the murals, and there are several murals that are within her, the reach of her business property. Thank you.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz.
Aye.
And Mayor Furman.
Aye. Consent calendar passes. So we'll move on to the next item. And that is administrative item 9.1, and that's resolution 10271. Actually, before we proceed, I would like to ask the YAC if they like to be excused from our meeting. Yeah. All right, we'll give them a second to excuse themselves, and then we'll proceed. Thank you for your report. Looking forward to seeing you on the 20th and for our concert after that. Okay, well, moving right along. The resolution 10271, authorizing the issuance of the sale of City of Indio pension obligation bonds, approving as to form and authorizing execution and delivery, and the indenture of a purchase contract, authorizing a validation action and authorizing certain related actions. And this item will be handled by Assistant City Manager and Director of Finance, Mr. Rob Rockwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you said, this item is authorizing the issuance of pension obligation bonds, execution delivery of an indenture, and purchase a contract authorizing a validation action and other related matters related to pension obligation bonds. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, it's not deja vu. This is exactly the same request staff had of you on November 3rd of 2021. At the time, you approved that action to move forward with these pension obligation bonds. The first step in the process after council approval is the validation action, which is done through the court. Unfortunately, because of the resurgence of the pandemic, there was over a 3-month delay in the court system, and we couldn't even get on the court's calendar. Now, during that 3-month time frame, there were some major changes in the municipal market. Most of that you're probably familiar of. There's been the Federal Open Market Committee, who has been raising interest rates and threatening to raise them more in the future. Also, due to the Russian incursion of Ukraine, there's been these changes in the market. So the market conditions now are different than they were in November. In fact, I have a summary here. I'm going to walk through some of the variations in the market, how the situation has changed from what we presented to you in November to what they are today. So if you look at the slide before you today, this has the variables and the financials of what the situation was in November. And just pointing out a few of the highlights, at the time we presented to you, the financial present value benefit was about $14 million. And that present value means that's the future benefit of the savings was $14 million. Today, that savings has been reduced to $9.3 million. Also, I want to talk about the true interest costs. At the time we were talking to you last time, true interest costs were about 3.5%. Now they're closer to 4.5%. And this is really the reason why I'm here. In the resolution that you adopted in November, we set the ceiling of what the city was willing to pay to borrow for bonds at 4%. That was an optimistic perspective. Given what the market conditions are today, we probably won't be able to meet that 4% ceiling. So in today's actions, we're asking the council to increase the ceiling up to 5%. The cumulative benefit is the actual year-to-year savings. And at the time, the difference between what we pay to PERS for the UAL, unfunded actuarial liability, compared to what we would pay through bonds. That difference was about $13.8 million. With today's market rates, that savings is now $6.8 million. About half of what it was in November. If you look at the graph on the bottom left, if you focus in on the gray, kind of looks like a mountain, that represents what our expected payments are to CalPERS for the unfunded actuarial liability. You can see they start off at $6 million. They increase a bit up to $7 million. And then starting in about 2038, they start to drop off. And if you look at the blue bars, that represents what our payments would be through a bond issuance. They'd be stagnant, right? So we'd have the financial stability of making even bond payments over a 20-year term, and we'd make those lower payments compared to what the expected payments are going to be due to CalPERS for the pension obligations. At the time, those bond payments were expected to be about $4 million. Based on today's interest rates, that dotted line represents that those bond payments would be about $4.4 million. So in conclusion, we believe there's still value to be had by issuing pension obligation bonds. It's not as sweet, you might say, as it was in November. Conditions in the market that cannot be controlled. A court delay that was completely out of our hands. And so that's where we are today. We want to raise the ceiling to 5%. We're still hoping to get closer to 4.5 maybe. If it's more than 5%, it's probably not going to be feasible for us to go forward. So we don't anticipate coming back and raising the ceiling once again. So just in closing, I'll just mention that we still believe there's a value to be had by going forward with approval at 5%. There's still some uncertainty in the market. There's another chance. Once we get through the court action, we'll be coming back with final authorization to issue bonds. It'll be closer to the time that we'll be issuing bonds, so we'll know better what the interest rate environment is. So staff is asking permission to adopt a new resolution. So we'll basically start the process again. The court's on notice. They know we're coming. So it won't take us quite as long to get on the calendar this time. So with your approval tonight, hopefully we can move this item forward fairly quickly. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rockwell. Questions of staff, council?
No, thank you, Rob, for continuing to bring this forward. Unfortunately, with the courts and that, but I do still think it's a good opportunity to save $6.8 million and hopefully a little bit more. But I'm more willing. Do you think when you say quickly in the courts, are we talking month, week?
It's kind of like an oxymoron, but probably a month. So actually, I think it takes maybe 45, 60 days. Depends on what's on the court calendar. As I mentioned, they know we're coming, so they will get on the court calendar earlier. But there's a typical process they have to go through. And if I recall correctly, it could be 60, maybe even 90 days, depending on what the court's calendar is now.
Can you explain why we have to go to the court for the people out there? Just real quickly.
Yes. So when you're issuing pension obligation bonds, basically, the validation process allows anybody with a grievance or a concern about us refinancing this debt, gets a chance to speak their piece. So the validation action is a fairly common practice for when you're refinancing debt of this nature, existing debt. The other alternative would be to do some type of municipal ballot measure and seek approval, but that process takes a considerable amount of time, and you have to do it on a regularly scheduled election date. So the court validation process is a little speedier, and it still gives the public a chance to challenge the action if they so choose.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. I just thought that it's important to do that because when you're talking $7 million and because of the courts being backed up for whatever reason, that it has an effect on us, and it has nothing to do with staff. It has to do with something out of our control. Thank you.
No one has any other comments.
Timing is everything, isn't it? My gosh. Thank you, Rob.
I'll motion to adopt resolution 10-271, authorizing the issuance and sale of City of Indio pension obligation bonds, approving as to form, and authorizing the execution and delivery of an indenture and a purchase contract, authorizing a validation action and authorizing certain related actions.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a first by Mayor Pro Tem, a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz, and a second by Councilmember Holmes. Can I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz?
Aye.
And Mayor Furman?
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion passes. We'll move on to item number 10, which is a public hearing item. That's 10.1 and is revised resolution number 10254, reapproving the revised version of the housing element 2021 to 2029 in response to required revisions from the State Office of the Housing and Community Development and readopting the prior negative declaration. And this will be handled by Director of Community Development, Mr. Kevin Snyder.
Great. Well, Mayor, you did my presentation, so thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, Kevin Snyder, Director of Community Development. So on January 5th, 2022, the City Council adopted the housing element 2021 to 2029. We, as the council may remember, this is an action that we're required to do under the rules of the state of California, and the council did do that. As part of the process, we are required to submit our council-approved housing element to the State Office of Housing and Community Development for review and certification. So we did that, and our consultant team assisted us with that. I want to thank Erica Van Sickle and Elizabeth Dixon because they led the charge in negotiating and working with the state to minimize the changes that we needed to make. However, as part of the state review process, they did identify what we call non-substantive changes, clarifications, some movement of items from appendix into the main body in order to address their concerns. They also required that the City Council entertain a readoption of the housing element with these changes, as well as readopting the negative declaration, that the City Council took action on January 5th. So this evening, we're before you to ask for your consideration of adopting the revised resolution 10254, readopting the negative declaration. Your action tonight would then be transferred to or transmitted to the State Office of Housing and Community Development. They have assured us of an expedited certification process based on council action. So we're hopeful in the very near future, we will have a certified housing element. At that point, I know several council members are ready to talk about pro-housing and the opportunities and strategies under that, and having the housing element, so to speak, certified and under our belt will provide that foundation for that. So with that, that's my presentation. The staff does recommend you adopt resolution 10254 and also readopt the negative declaration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. This is a public hearing item, so I will open a public hearing, and I do not have any requests to speak. Ms. Saab, do you have anything online?
Yes, Mayor. I have Annalisa Vargas.
Okay.
Annalisa, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, good evening again. Yes, I just wanted to, I was a part of the housing element update workshops last spring. And on behalf of Communities for New California Education Fund, we submitted a letter that outlines some of our just concerns and also suggestions for the housing element update. And one of them was to host additional community meetings that would be offered in English and Spanish. And because there was some workshops, but they it was limited. And it was in a forum like a webinar. And there wasn't a lot of like engagement. Like we didn't have the opportunity to have like breakout sessions. So we could give comments, but I wasn't as engaging as I hoped it to be. But I hope in the future there will be other opportunities for that. And also another area was to encourage that the housing development outcomes meet the RHNA allocations in all income categories. So we know that between 2013 and 2020, the RHNA allocations were largely unmet in the city of Indio, more specifically in relation to very low income, and moderate income housing, with only 126 units being built out of 1,754. Less than 10% of housing built in the city of Indio in that time period over 8 years was targeted to low income households and working families, while 90% of housing built was for above moderate income households. So as you can imagine, that's created an unbalanced and unequitable housing situation, which is further compounded by high housing cost and lack of affordable housing options, which has only continued to become more problematic and also has created a housing crisis throughout the Coachella Valley. And so part of another area was to develop a policy to end exclusionary zoning is also one step towards expanding affordable housing. And so that would, the city of Indio would need to update its general plan and reform its zoning laws to go from allowing exclusionary single family homes in certain areas to a wider variety of housing types. This would allow for development of duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and provide more options for low-income residents, thus eliminating the cost burden associated with high housing costs and rising rents. And then also we discussed and to enact inclusionary zoning laws, things like requiring developers to increase the number of residents set aside for affordable housing. And there's many proposals. We gave examples of proposals to consider. Like the Montgomery County Council, that they passed legislation to require larger developers to 20 units or more to designate 15% of these living spaces as moderately priced dwelling units. And so looking at those examples is what the city of Indio really needs to do to look towards providing more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Vargas.
I have no other comments, Mayor.
No other comments online. There's none in the queue, so I will close the public hearing. And any questions of staff by council?
I do have a request. I did want to see if we could start looking at some of these new policies, kind of like the pro-housing policies, right, that are going to be suggested by the state or required by the state to get a pro-housing designation. And I'm just wondering if we can do that sooner than later, right? If we can do that before we hear back from the state, because I think that at the rate that the housing market is going, we shouldn't wait another month to start discussing these items and seeing if we're going to be willing to go forward with some of these changes.
Thank you, Councilmember. The housing element, assuming you readopt it this evening, actually contains the foundation for the pro-housing designation. As you may remember, our grant that funded the housing element update consisted of two parts. One was the housing element update. The second part was pro-housing strategies. And that's where I think we're going to get into kind of where the rubber hits the road conversations in terms of what the city can do from a regulatory perspective, what the city can do from a financial perspective, and what the city can do from a community engagement perspective. So the foundation is there in the document that you're being asked to readopt this evening. And the conversation is a matter of just, I asked the city manager if we could get the housing element readopted. So we had that foundation in place. And then depending on scheduling, we'll work with the city manager to schedule a near-term conversation with the council about that. You have also committed to another action, and you did that in the general plan adoption, which established a new foundation for the zoning in the city of Indio. And as I just wanted to mention, as the speaker indicated, the opportunity for more diverse housing product type, this city council committed to that in the general plan, and the zoning regulations that we are working on right now to bring to you, not too far down the line, hopefully next couple months for your consideration, represent that and the opportunity for more diverse housing product type in our city. To your point, Councilmember, we are priming to have that near-term conversation, and we look forward to it to see what opportunities we might bring to pro-housing and increase housing production in the city.
Thank you. Thank you. There's, well, Councilmember?
No, I was gonna make a motion if we're done speaking.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt revised resolution number 10254, reapproving the revised version of the housing element 2021-2029 in response to, to required revisions for the State Office of Housing and Community Development and readopting the prior negative declaration.
And I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Miller and a second by Councilmember Holmes. Could I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz?
Aye.
And Mayor Furman?
Aye. Resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Snyder, for bringing this, and thank you for all the hard work on this. Very important. All righty. The next item is item number 11, which is public comments for items not on the agenda. I do not have. Yeah, public comment. If you could just fill one out, but you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. Sorry. Come talk first.
Just for the record, just fill it out before you leave. But yeah.
Sorry, guys. Just in response to something that was said earlier. I think the sentiment that these people behind me may not, be entitled to feel the way they feel is probably a little bit beyond the scope right now, because I know personally my RFQs don't always get read. So I know there is a delineation and approach to different organizations, because there have been times where I'm doing an event in a park and someone else is doing an event in a park and the prices are different or their approach is different or their meetings are different. So I know for a fact there's a delineation and approach, and we may be able to find emails that maybe make them look like they don't, they're wrong in feeling this way or feeling that they've been slighted in an opportunity, but I don't think so. I think if a practice has been held over years, it's okay for the community who doesn't have an obligation to constantly check in to see if things have changed, especially when things have stayed stagnant for so long. And I think if they don't know that things have improved, it's incumbent upon the governing body to communicate better with the community. So I think that sentiment needs to be said, because I feel for them right now after what was said to them. And it's not that it was wrong. It's just, it almost is dismissive of what they're feeling. And I get it may feel like it's being personalized, but again, that's their livelihood. That's their culture that's been handed down for thousands of years. And it's hard to come and get the resources together to approach people and then to be asked again and again that, just go do it again. Just have another meeting, have a new meeting with this one. And it just takes time. And it takes time out of people's days who don't have that, who can't afford that. We don't get paid six figures to be here or any kind of money to be here, So it's like, I think that it's incumbent to understand that it's okay for them to maybe be past the deadline, but it should be incumbent upon the people to hey, if someone maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago had this kind of same idea and we're now ready for it, maybe it's worth a phone call or an email. It shouldn't be their fault. If they had the idea before you guys were, before we were collectively ready, because this whole community's built this downtown to make it feasible, And I think that part's missing from the conversation, is that there is a delineation and communication and approach between people. And maybe there's a valid reason for that, but it exists. And that's it. Thank you. I'm filling this out. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Becerra. I have no other comments. Sure.
I just wanted to add about a comment that the gentleman said about viewing every proposal that comes in. Obviously, that's not true, because like how we said, when we sat here, literally here, with this proposal and explained everything that we do in our education, and aside from education, all of our cultural background, we were not given the opportunity to move forward with our proposal, because it was said that this building was going to be for a big chain restaurant or a department store. So our proposal was not allowed to go forward. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. There's no further comments. I'll move on to the next item, which is adjournment. Our next council meeting will be April 20th, 2022, and it will start at 4 p.m. rather than 5. And that's for the regular meeting. And just a reminder that we do have our festivals here. We do have the ribbon cutting for Sabar Lake. We also have a concert that evening in downtown, a free concert. And we also still have our farmers market that goes on every Sunday downtown from 9 to 2 p.m. And if there's no more comments, I'll adjourn this meeting.
Yep.
Oh, to 4 p.m.
To 4 p.m.
Yes.
on April 20th.
April 20th, yes.